The meaning of life, ancient wisdom. When we were young, a single piece of candy could bring us immense joy. As we grow older, even though the candy in our mouths remains sweet, we begin to taste the sour, bitter, and spicy flavors of life. In childhood, we cried and then laughed. As adults, we laugh and then cry. The burdens of work, the pressure to buy a house or a car, the responsibilities of starting a family and raising children, all these pressures can weigh us down to the point where we feel suffocated. Sometimes, we ask ourselves, since everyone must die, what is the purpose of our existence? I know your life is busy. However, what I'm about to say isn't easy to grasp, especially if you only hear it once. My advice is to watch until the end, listen repeatedly during your free time or while doing household chores. Save and share this list for your convenience. I'm confident that within a few short months, your mindset will evolve to a new level. Ancient wisdom greets you all. Today, we'll explore the meaning behind human existence. These answers will undoubtedly change the way you live, especially the final story, a tale that has awakened thousands. It's the story of a pig. Once, there was a pig who lived happily with its parents. Someone fed it and took care of its needs. But one day, the pig realized it was being raised to be slaughtered. Yet, the other pigs in the pen remained oblivious. They ate, slept, and repeated the cycle. The pig felt miserable, thinking life was meaningless. It asked its mother, "If we're just going to be eaten, why grow up?" The mother replied, "Even though we'll eventually be eaten, the joy we have now is real. Instead of worrying about future pain, why not enjoy the present?" The pig found this reasoning sound and stopped suffering. One day, it discovered a small hole in the pen, but it was too small to escape. So, the pig set a life goal, to lose weight and fit through the hole. It stopped eating, exercised day and night, endured pain, and believed victory was ahead. Finally, it escaped and ran to a distant mountain, becoming a wild boar. It thought its fate had changed, but soon realized it wasn't the first pig to escape. Among the wild boars, many were like it, former domestic pigs. These pigs struggled in the wild, lacking the strength and speed of true wild boars. They lived at the bottom of the herd. The pig felt miserable again, wondering whether to endure or resist. Eventually, it chose to resist. It practiced charging at trees and biting them daily. Over time, it grew stronger until one day, it challenged the herd leader and severely injured it. But before dying, the leader said, "Finally, I'm free. Now it's your turn to suffer." Soon, the pig understood the meaning of those words. It became the new leader. From the mountaintop, it saw a sign below, "Wild Boar Training Camp." It realized it was part of a human experiment to turn domestic pigs into wild boars for higher profits. Defeated, it descended the mountain, telling each pig, "Live happily every day." Growing up is the process of understanding life. It's also the process of becoming a wild boar. This journey reveals a painful truth: most things around us are meaningless. No matter how hard you try, whether you become wealthy or remain ordinary, you're just a pawn in the hands of capitalists. Your funeral is merely a gathering for others. A netizen shared a story. His neighbor, a 52-year-old department head, died suddenly of a stroke. His wife and children were devastated. But during the funeral, relatives and friends smiled, chatted, and played cards. The women in the kitchen laughed while cooking, and the men drank, joked, and smoked, turning the funeral into a festive gathering. At that moment, I realized that your life and death mean little to others. Beyond your parents, spouse, and children, no one truly cares about your existence. Your death is just an occasion for people to gather and chat. They discuss everything but rarely mention your passing. Later, I deeply understood that we're not important in others' eyes. Only we feel important. If fire doesn't burn others, they won't feel the pain. So, when you die, don't make the funeral too elaborate. A few close relatives are enough. Others are just there for the show. When we start thinking independently, we often believe we're the center of the world, and others are our audience. But in reality, we only care about ourselves. We worry if our parents care about us, what others think of us, and whether our lovers love us. Do we need to love ourselves? In truth, others don't truly care about us. They only care about how we perceive them. Similarly, we don't truly care about others. In everyone's world, others are just spectators. We must admit that modern humans have become much colder, no longer caring about others' affairs. Sometimes, we even feel a sense of schadenfreude when others face misfortune. If you don't believe me, ask yourself, do you know your neighbor across the street? For those who have passed away, many feel nothing. The main reason is the lack of blood ties or interaction, so their departure doesn't affect us. For those living in darkness, if you want a richer life, bravely move forward. Don't fear failure, because no one truly cares about you. For those living as actors in this world, if one day you no longer want to act, if playing the lead is too stressful, and playing a supporting role is unsatisfying, boldly quit. A student once wrote an essay titled "Enduring Life's Suffering Makes You a Better Person." A professor in New Zealand gave it a 0, understanding a simple truth: if suffering more meant superiority, then the richest person in the world would be a donkey. The older generation dug a deep hole for the young, telling them they must endure hardship to have a future. But once you enter society, you'll realize that once you start enduring suffering, it never ends. Money goes to those who don't need it, love to those who don't lack it, and suffering to those who endure it best. Note that this is low-level suffering, not the suffering of self-discipline or personal growth. Today's youth no longer blindly accept suffering. Recently, a netizen said, "If you feel tired, go to the market at 4 a.m. or visit an emergency room." Another replied, "If you're tired, shouldn't you rest? Why compare who's more tired?" If we follow this logic, among 8 billion people, only the most tired person has the right to say they're tired. Enduring suffering is inevitable when you can't avoid it. But we shouldn't glorify suffering, as it traps us in an endless cycle of self-destruction. Success depends on many factors, but don't blindly or intentionally endure meaningless suffering. Positivity and optimism are the best attitudes. Don't suffer just for the sake of suffering. Tradition encourages us to suffer first and enjoy later, to earn money before indulging. But if life is short, we might suffer our entire lives. Author Keigo Higashino once wrote, "Trying too hard is exhausting. Humans aren't born to suffer. So, don't take everything to heart. When you're too busy, slow down. When you're tired, rest. When you're sad, cry. Don't always confront yourself. Nothing is more important than living healthily, right? The lifestyle abroad reflects ours. They work for half a year and play for the other half. They buy houses to live in, and cars just need to run. We live in this world for a few decades, not to work and overtime every day, nor to suffer. We're here to enjoy life and experience its wonders. In this life, some will admire you, some will despise you, some will envy you, and some will misunderstand you. You can't please everyone. So, don't worry too much about how others see you. Remind yourself that your body is your own, cherish it. Your mood is also your own, value it. Don't let unworthy people or things trouble you. A little fish once traveled through a magical forest and swam up to an old fish, saying, "I want to find what they call the ocean." The old fish asked, "The ocean? You're in it right now." The little fish replied, "This is water. I want to find the ocean." We spend our lives searching for the meaning of life, like a fish in water looking for the ocean. Many people grow anxious because everything they do must have meaning, especially sensitive individuals. Even when reading a book or watching a movie, they feel compelled to write a reflection. When they indulge in simple pleasures, They feel guilty, perhaps because from a young age, we're taught that eating, drinking, and playing are a waste of time, and only enduring hardship is a meaningful life. Living means striving for good results. Such a life is exhausting. Not only is it tiring, but when we face unemployment, heartbreak, or difficulties, we fall into a state of immense mental exhaustion. Many overlook a fact: many things don't need to have meaning. Eating, drinking, and playing aren't a waste of time, and suffering doesn't mean your life is meaningful. When you're anxious and mentally exhausted, remember that life is the accumulation of countless experiences. If you want, you can do seemingly meaningless things, like sitting, watching the sunrise, counting stars, or sitting on the grass all day. Your experiences are the greatest meaning. Life doesn't have to be about doing what society deems meaningful, nor does it have to follow societal values like marrying in your 20s or establishing a career in your 30s. Meaning is created by us. Life is a wild field, not a straight line. As long as you're enjoying the present, you've found meaning. What's the biggest difference between humans and animals? Some say the biggest difference is that animals' lives are meaningless, while humans' lives have meaning. I disagree. Both animals and humans' lives are meaningless because humans evolved from animals. The world doesn't suddenly become meaningful just because we have thoughts. But animals don't know their lives are meaningless, nor do they care. Humans, however, know and can't bear the lack of meaning, so they busy themselves searching for it. In the process of seeking meaning, humans created religion, philosophy, and art. And with religion, philosophy, and art, people feel life has meaning. Just like individuals, in the process of seeking meaning, humans form their spiritual lives. After having a spiritual life, they feel life has meaning. Therefore, meaning isn't prepared by nature or the universe. Nature has no concept of meaning. It doesn't specially prepare meaning for humans. A nurse named Bronnie Ware, who worked in an Australian palliative care unit for 9 years, published a book titled The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, based on the shared experiences of her patients. Here are the 5 most common regrets. 1. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. This is the most common regret. When people realize their life is ending, they easily look back and see how many dreams went unfulfilled. Most people haven't even achieved half of their dreams. Only on their deathbed do they realize that their choices determined everything. 2. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. This is a common lament among male patients. They missed their children growing up and moments with their parents. If you simplify your lifestyle and make rational decisions, you'll find that the money needed to live isn't as much as you think. Then you can spend the rest of your time enjoying life and be happier. 3. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Many suppressed their feelings to maintain peace with others, losing their individuality and drifting further from their true selves. 4. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Many, under life's pressures, let precious friendships fade over time. On their deathbeds, they remember old friends and regret not dedicating enough time and effort to those relationships. 5. I wish I had let myself be happier. Surprisingly, this is a common regret. When someone is on their deathbed, others' opinions no longer matter. What they truly care about is their own heart. So, before death approaches, if you can let go of everything and smile at yourself, it's truly wonderful. In Japan, a young nurse named Shoichi Okane, who cared for terminal patients, witnessed and listened to the regrets of over 1,000 patients before their deaths. She later wrote the book 25 Regrets Before Death. The top 5 regrets were, not doing what they truly wanted, not achieving their dreams, doing things against their conscience, letting emotions control their lives, and not having the strength to help others. You'll notice that regardless of nationality or culture, people's regrets when facing death are similar. So, I hope everyone bravely does what they want and doesn't repeat others' regrets. If I offered you a lifetime of endless money in exchange for your health, would you take it? If you're unsure, this story will clarify. Long ago, a poor man's wife found 3 hungry old men with white hair at their door. She invited them in for food. The old men said, "Ask your husband if he agrees." The husband happily replied, "Invite them in. Helping the needy is the right thing to do." The 3 old men smiled and said, "We are the gods of wealth, success, and health. To repay your kindness, you may invite one of us into your home to fulfill your wishes. But remember, you can only choose one." The wife wanted wealth, the husband wanted success, but their daughter, doing homework nearby, suggested, "I think health is best. A healthy family is the happiest." So, they invited the god of health in. Strangely, the gods of wealth and success followed. The wife asked, "Didn't we only choose one?" The god of health replied, "Yes, but there's an exception. Only when you choose me do the other 2 follow. Without health, wealth and success are meaningless. In this life, the amount of money doesn't matter, health is the most important. Don't fight for money and benefits recklessly, as no amount of money can prevent death. No matter how beautiful you are, you can't please the king of hell. Earning money is just a game, health is the goal. Good health is more valuable than anything because body parts are expensive and hard to match. Most importantly, they're not always available. Writer Maxim Gorky once told the story of a young, disappointed man who often complained about his poor life and society's injustice. Everyone avoided him. One day, he met an old man who asked what he needed. The young man said, "I'm very poor. I want to be rich." The old man replied, "Sell me your hands and feet. I'll pay you 5,000 gold coins." The young man refused. The old man continued, "Is the price too low? I'll pay 10,000 gold coins for your hands and feet. Deal?" The young man, shocked, said, "No matter how much you offer, I won't sell my hands." The old man said, "Exactly. Do you still think you're poor? Your body has something more valuable than 10,000 gold coins, your health. Isn't health your greatest asset?" Everyone is born with a wonderful gift, not exceptional luck, but a healthy body. Over the past few years of the pandemic, many have realized that no amount of money can buy a healthy body. Once your body fails, everything returns to zero. Someone once said, "If all men consider having a house, a car, and a prestigious job as their only life dream, what hope is left for this country?" Do you want to tell your grandchildren that the greatest thing you did in life was paying off your mortgage? Ha ha ha. Humans, from birth, are on a path leading to death. In How the Steel Was Tempered, it's written, a person's life should be lived so that when they look back, they won't regret having lived in vain or feel ashamed of their ordinary years. In the Golden Age, there's a passage, "I live in this world to understand a few truths, encounter a few interesting things, and thus consider my life a success." In Walden, it's said, "Life has no value unless you choose and give it value." From now on, don't live the life you have to live. Live the life you want to live. Death isn't scary. What's scary is realizing at death that you've never truly lived. There's an Oscar-winning short film called 1 Minute to Live. I believe you can find the meaning of life through it. A small fly, upon birth, discovers a countdown timer on its head that it can't remove. The poor fly didn't understand what this meant until it saw an old fly's timer reach 0, ending its life instantly. Only then did the little fly realize it had only 1 minute to live. It received a long list from the old fly detailing what a fly must do in its lifetime. With time pressing, the fly immediately acted. According to the list, it stung a cat, attended a party, went skydiving, rescued an insect, and even got married and had children, all in a flash. It had no time to think or feel, just making important life decisions one after another. But as tasks grew harder, Like stargazing during the day or becoming famous, the fly felt anxious and desperate. It didn't expect despair to be on the list. Suddenly, a drop of oil fell on it, ending its life at the last second. At nightfall, it finally saw the stars. Years later, this somber specimen became a sought-after treasure, and the fly completed its final task, becoming famous. But what did it mean? Its entire life was spent hastily completing a list written by someone else. It's ironic and sad. But don't laugh at the little fly, because our lives are no different. Passing exams, finding jobs, getting married, having children, achieving fame, these are lists left by previous generations. But these aren't our needs, they're others' expectations. The story of the man and Buddha. A man died. Only at that moment did he realize how short life was. He saw Buddha holding a box, approaching him. Buddha said, "All right, let's go." The man exclaimed, "So soon? I still have so much to do." Buddha replied, "I'm sorry, but your time is up." The man asked, "What's in the box?" Buddha said, "What belongs to you?" The man was confused. "You mean my possessions like clothes and money?" The Buddha shook his head. "Those things never belong to you, they belong to the world." The man asked again, "Are they my memories?" The Buddha replied, "No, they belong to time." The man guessed, "Are they my talents?" The Buddha replied, "No, they belong to circumstances." The man continued to ask, "Are they my friends and family?" The Buddha replied, "No, they belong to your life journey." The man asked again, "Are they my wife and children?" The Buddha said, "No, they belong to your heart." The man sighed, "Then it must be my body." The Buddha replied, "No, your body belongs to dust." Finally, the man affirmed, "Then it must be my soul." The Buddha smiled, "You are completely wrong, your soul belongs to me." The man was now in tears. He took the box from the Buddha and opened it. Inside, the box was empty. He burst into tears and asked the Buddha, "Have I never really owned anything?" The Buddha replied, "Yes, nothing in this world really belongs to you." The man continued to ask, "Then what is mine?" The Buddha said, "Every moment you live is yours. Life is a series of choices and letting go. People are born crying and leave crying to others. The time between those two cries is life. God is also very interesting. Cats like to eat fish, but cats cannot go into the water. Fish like to eat dung, but fish cannot go to the land. Life is a process of both owning and losing, both choosing and letting go." There is a scientific study that shows that, after 50 years since we leave this world, time will erase all the traces we have left. From a certain perspective, humans experience 3 deaths. The first time is when the heart stops beating, physical death. The second time is when the last person who knows us also passes away. The third time is when all images, information about us, including photos and videos, disappear. So if life has no meaning, understanding this is not to destroy the will to live, but to remind us that the greatest meaning of life is perhaps to live fully in each present moment. This means knowing how to cherish every time you love, every hug, every meal with loved ones, every meeting, and knowing how to cherish the friends around you. Live fully for today, perhaps that is the greatest meaning of life. Don't let the little things bother you, and don't bother others. Live with the philosophy of living well every day. Perhaps that is the greatest meaning of our life.